Yes. So finally, we are live on YouTube. Thank you so much all for joining in to the first session of the first Supply Chain Summit 2021. This Supply Chain Summit is actually aimed at sharing the knowledge and experience with a lot of different professionals from around the world. And today we have three great professionals who can talk about the subjects in detail. Before starting the whole Supply Chain Summit, I would like to welcome all the three speakers today. And a small introduction about this summit. This summit is aimed at promoting procurement topics, financial topics, supply chain from the whole level, from the holistic level, and in-depth study as well. So we will be having a discussion of ERP based on Oracle and different other ERP modules, stock levels, and different inventory subjects. And we will be combining some topics related to finance, sales, and marketing, because I believe that they are very crucial for maintaining the whole supply chain and logistics as well. So before starting the show, I would like to give an opportunity for each of the speakers to introduce themselves. From my left side, Marcia, would you like to start the introduction, please?
Yeah, of course. Well, thank you so much, Jason. It's a pleasure to be here with you, with Jasna and Liz. I am Marcia Williams, and I have I'm close to 18 years of experience in supply chain, and I enjoy mainly the process optimization aspect, as well as digital supply chain transformation. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Marcia. Sajna, would you go next?
Sure. Thank you so much, Jason, for having me here today. It's always a pleasure to share what I know and learn from great professionals like Marcia and Liz, especially in supply chain space. So I'm Sajna Samad, a certified supply chain consultant with more than 12 years of implementation support and consulting experience with various organizations like Infosys, Cisco, and Oracle. In the last 3 years with Oracle, I've supported more than 120 plus organizations through their digital transformation journey to cloud. I also lead the Oracle Women Leadership Community in UAE, and I'm so pleased to see women in the panel. I thought there are very less women in supply chain space, but I'm extremely pleased to see women in the panel, actually. And I strongly believe in giving back to the community. So I work with universities like MIT and University of Wollongong, Dubai. And that's how I met Jason. So and I'm also a certified life coach specializing in professionals. So I empower professionals to accelerate their career by helping them create a unique selling personality and a personal brand. So it's amazing to be here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sajna. It's great to know you. Lizzie, would you go next, please?
Yeah, great. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Jason, for this opportunity. Marcia, Sajna, it's great to speak in the same panel as the two of you and your experience. I mean, I was doing a bit of background check on the speakers, and oh my goodness. I'm impressed, and I'm happy about this whole women panel and all that. So maybe just a brief about what I do. I'm in business development and communication development with a background education-wise in public relations and communication development. And I've been more or less in and out of the supply chain for a couple of 4 years before I decided to embark in private sector, and you know how that is. And I'm just super excited to have this discussion and looking forward to, just learning from you guys and seeing how I can help and chime in. Thanks, Jason.
Thank you so much, Lizzie. Let's start the show by speaking about inventory management. And inventory management is such a close subject to my heart because I am involved in inventory management and supply chain back-end processes, because inventory management, warehousing, stores, ERP is close to my heart, and that's why I would like to talk about this in the initial go. So while drafting an SOP for an inventory management, that is standard operating procedures, what are the things which we should take care? Marcia, would you like to share on some key points so that our audience can learn from it? What are the key points which should be considered on the top priority list?
Yes, that's a great question. And when I did my brief introduction, I talk about process optimization because I think we need to have clear what processes and how to use the data before getting into in an ERP in the case that is a first time implementation. And if we are switching to a different system, the same. So some key aspect in inventory, of course, is going to be the receiving part, because that is the moment when we get it. And then, of course, is all the where we are going to locate that inventory. Then keep the inventory in storage per the requirements. And also then, right, when we start receiving the orders, the fulfillment, and the shipping. So it's like we need to have clear all that process, how is going to be from the moment that we get the inventory until we ship. So in and out.
Yeah, exactly. So when we talk about receiving of materials, is there a key checklist so that we can refer to when we talk about SOPs, when we are drafting SOPs, like what to receive, when to receive? Are there a guideline we can refer to, Marcia?
Sure. The 3PLs, I think they are very strong in that, because it's like their core function, right? One of them is warehousing, and then the other one is shipping, logistics. So to have a guide, right? Certain policies, how you are going to receive that inventory. This seems maybe like a minor aspect. How is that possible? But I can tell you, like in practice, all the errors that could happen. One of the large companies, well, this is very large, is one of the top companies in logistics. They were getting pressure from the customer, just pick up this. And what they did, they didn't follow the procedures.
Okay.
Just because he felt so, the pressure, didn't follow the process, and then they put it in the warehouse. Okay. But then the shipment, it was kind of lost. So it's very important to have a specific guideline, like to have the part number, right? How you are receiving. Maybe you don't accept mixed pallets. All of those aspects, granular aspects, that are important for inventory management.
Yeah. So when we talk about all those aspects, my next question would be to Sajna. ERP plays a very crucial role to manage or monitor all the receiving, all the issuing part, and also giving us reports for the inventory management and to maintain a proper SOP. So what, according to you, is the key points when an ERP system is to be implemented in an organization? Is that the manual practice should be stopped completely, or there should be a parallel manual practice going with the ERP implementation for receiving and issuing?
Yes, so thank you so much for that question. So first of all, when we are creating a standard operating procedure, I believe that you should consider 3 Ps. There are 3 Ps which are involved in this process. So the first one is the process itself. What is the process of the inventory process or the receiving process, how the put away happens, the inspection happens, the whole process of how the storage happens. How do you optimize your storage? The whole procedure is the process P. Yeah. The second P is generally the people. Like, how would you ensure that you get the buy-in of all the people? Because at the end of the day, these processes are supposed to be followed by people, right? So it's very important that you get the buy-in from all of these people to ensure that they will follow this process. By buy-in, I don't mean that you get sign off from all of these people. No, just take their inputs, because your expertise on the shop floor is extremely important, because that makes that expertise something which no other system or nobody else can give you, because they are living the process actually. So is the another P, and this final P is the platform. So I believe that all of these 3 Ps should work together for any standard operating procedure, not only just for inventory, for any SOP to work. And platform plays a key role in it. Why? It is easy to creating the process, creating the procedures, having it on paper is great. What if the people are not implementing it, right? Platform great. So the platform or the technology is what enables you as an organization to implement those procedures which you have invested so much amount of time to create, to ensure that these people are actually utilizing it. And I believe that when all of these work together is when you have an optimal supply chain or optimal inventory process. So platform plays a key role. And another advantage of going into platforms which are experts in, or technology which are experts in supply chain, is that it comes with inbuilt best practices. These companies or these organizations, for example, in case of Oracle, the solution comes with inbuilt modern best practices for processes you need, so that as an organization, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can just adopt those processes and tweak it based on your requirements. So coming to your question, that do you need need to have an ERP in parallel with the people? Yes, it should work together with the people. But whether you should have manual processes, I would say if the process is not fully automated in the system, then it is possible that you will have still loopholes which will eat into your inventory budget or the costs and etc. So I would suggest to have an end-to-end process implemented on the ERP system. That would be my take.
Perfect. Lizzie, coming back to you. Lizzie, coming back to you. When we talk about ERPs and when we talk about SOPs, like Sajna said about the 3 Ps, procedures, people, and platform. Have you experienced similar kind back in Nairobi? Because things would be very different in Nairobi in Kenya, and it's not similar to this part of the world. So would you like to share some expertise from your point of view?
Definitely. Yeah. I agree with the ladies, and the 3 itself. If they're noted with the plan, that becomes an issue. And I like Sanjay mentioned about the whole and platform, and these.
Lizzie, your audio is not clear. Lizzie, your audio is not clear.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. It's breaking.
Sorry
actually.
about that. I'm trying. Sorry. What about now? Is it better?
Yeah, it's better. Yeah, please go ahead.
Sorry about that. Okay, sorry. So I was mentioning that, and I like what 3 Ps work one actually form the triangle supply chain. If the platform who are actually implementing it, then you need to, go back to the. What I like about the 3 Ps, once it works and everybody, like the stakeholders, are okay, and they've already done information on this particular and then that is happening right in Kenya. We have different kind of product, different kind of supply chain plan. So you have somebody with a big warehouse, you have somebody who has a bakery. So it depends with what you're actually doing.
Yeah.
And you can implement a system and pay for it. So just what works with you. If it's your suppliers, your customers, something that works with you, then you can implement that. So that's back home here, it totally depends on the kind of project that you have. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're a big organization, some can actually purchase this as long as you have this strong in what you're doing, that you're using. And then what I needed to, the testing and the training of the ERP that you have, it's very important. I mean, the people need to know what you're using. You've decided to bring on board. So it has to be people focused. If not, then you're going to have issues, because I find that some people will be super comfortable with money being that. So the really work.
Sajna, when I was hearing about Lizzie talking about testing and training, the question comes back to you, how important it is for the testing and training part. Marcia, you can also add your feedbacks on this.
Yes, definitely. So that's what I was mentioning earlier. It is a triangle, as Liz mentioned, right? It's people, platform, and the process. So if what happens generally in any digital transformation project is what I have seen happening is that you give so much focus on the technology, you spend so much time on understanding what is the right technology to choose and everything, and during the implementation of the technology, you tend to forget the people behind it, and that is when that is when these digital transformation projects generally don't go right. So we at the end of the day blame the technology, but it might not be just the technology because the way you implemented it. So it is very important to do a people-focused digital transformation where people are given, because any change, irrespective of what the change is, it is very difficult for people to adapt. So you have to take them through a journey. You have to take the people through a journey. You have to give multiple opportunities to learn the platform through doing, through the job, or through doing the implementation process. And that's what we generally do as part of cloud. We have different CRP pilots which we run with the users on a regular basis, even before the platform is live, so that when the platform is live for business, they are ready because they have seen the system, they have used the system by then before they actually start using it on a regular basis. So it's very critical, the testing and also the training is very crucial in the success of any digital transformation project.
Amazing. Marcia, would you like to add on this?
Sure. I love when Sasna and also Liz mention about people, because and also about processes, because when they show, like, you go to a company and you ask, do you have SOPs? Okay, yes, we have everything documented. We are ISO certified. We are clear with that. But then actually they are not following them. And also the point that Sasna made about best practices. When we get an ERP system, most of them, like Oracle, SAP, Dynamics now, from Microsoft, they have those best practices built in. But we need to see which ones, because the system also has flexibility. So it will depend on your business needs. One time, the company can be doing B2B, like manufacturers, okay, they sell to the large retailers. But with these changing times, many manufacturers are starting the e-commerce channel. So we need to see, are we going to follow the same? Because it's different how we get like the sales order. So it's very important, those points that Sasna and Liz mentioned, because Liz also mentioned that there are different supply chains. So it's not, we have best practices, but we need to be able to select those best practices. And of course, training is crucial. And one of the key aspects is many companies decide to have two systems in parallel for some time, right? So then when they are ready, okay, we need to let go the legacy system that is sometimes is challenging, but they need time and they need to see their role, what they need to do, what the system is going to do for them, and what they need to input. So I agree, training is fundamental.
Let me take a quick question from our viewers. One of our viewers, Mr. Sandeep, he mentions, can we do ABC analysis at the time of receiving only, depending on the previous sale? Marcia, can you go first? It's about ABC analysis.
Yes. I recommend like to have it before, right? We need to understand before where we are, like the baseline. So we need to start with something. Maybe it's not the right analysis, and then we are going to make revisions, but it needs to be done with what we have. And then we will do an analysis later on time, review, and keep that data maintained. That is one of the challenges, right? So that is my suggestion. We start with a baseline, and then we change based on the data that we are receiving.
Lizzie, have you done ABC analysis in your organization?
We did. Yeah. I was like, I hope.
Lizzie, you're still breaking. Your voice is breaking still. Yeah.
Now.
Lizzie, your voice is breaking still.
Clear?
Yeah.
Let me connection.
Okay. Till the time Lizzie connects. Sajna, a quick thought about ABC analysis if you have gone through the situation.
I haven't done it personally, but I've seen with my clients that we generally recommend them to do during the receiving process, because as Marcia mentioned, it's the baseline. And then later, if you want to reclassify the items, please go ahead and do it, because at the end of the day, ABC classification is the foundation for many other activities you do, like the inventory counting and everything, right? So it is important that it is classified correctly. So it is up to your business needs that you can go ahead and reclassify it based on your requirements. So, but I would definitely go with what Marcia mentioned, that you definitely have to have some baseline, and receiving is the best time to do it.
Yeah, correct. So when we talk about inventory on a general aspect, how important is stock taking? Because this is where the auditing, the internal audits, the external audits come to a conflict. Maybe this depends on the organization, that internal audits have to focus on yearly audits, or maybe quarterly audits, or maybe annual audits for stock taking. How often would you recommend stock audits should be? Like it should be an annual audit, or it should be half yearly audit, or it should be each monthly audit? Marcia.
That depends on the result that you are getting with the cycle count. Yeah. Because if you are doing well, you can do it one time in a year. But that depends, yes, how you are doing, like with inventory accuracy, the percentages. So as we were mentioning, and Shahnat did as well, we need to have some baseline metrics. So it will depend on the result. If we see that our inventory accuracy is very poor, that I have seen that in many cases, we need to do it more often, the cycle counts. Yeah. And in that case, yes, when it is, there are certain situations that in addition of depending on the result, we need to do it. Like if we are switching for a different provider that is going to be responsible, or the company change ownership, well, those are cases that you need to do it anyway. But if everything is going well, the complete physical inventory one time, because you know that it's disruptive, it's costly, so that is my suggestion.
Yeah, before coming to Sajna, because she plays a very important role in Oracle implementation. Yes. Oracle has this report for audits. Before coming to that, Sajna, Liz, would you like to share how's your experience on auditing, or maybe yearly stock takings, or would you recommend yearly stock takings, or maybe annual or biannual stock takings?
I hope my connection is a bit better. I don't know if it is or not.
A little bit, but
we can hear you.
We hear you.
Sorry about
we hear you.
Okay, so in regards to stock taking, it will definitely depend on and what kind of inventory you have. An annual one would be best depending on the size, but if it's like a sizable organization that can close its doors a day biannually and just do the stock, then that is also highly recommended. And this is because I would go for biannual, because of dead stock. There's some that are not moving, and I can give you an example of automobile spare parts shop. There's some that are dead stock depending on the kind of model of cars people are driving. So if it's good to keep track of what in your stock. It could be like dead moving, not moving stocks, and that needs to be replaced with fast moving stock. So it highly depends with the organization you're in, from my take.
Okay. So when you were mentioning about dead stock, I would go to, this was our topic for discussion in the next 5 minutes. I would like to come back to Sajna. Oracle has some great tools for stock taking. Would you like to share with us with your experience? What are those tools and how often can stock taking take place through Oracle reports?
So first of all, I would like to say that I'm not here as an Oracle spokesperson. I'm just sharing the information as part of my understanding, because my whole career has been based on Oracle solutions. That's the only reason.
Yeah.
So I would not just talk in terms of Oracle, but in general business process, I would say that stock taking should not be an yearly thing where you shut down the whole warehouse, because every single day you shut down the warehouse, the whole inventory stock,
it's a loss. Yeah.
Right, you're losing money.
Correct.
So it is very important that you do it on a regular basis. So we recommend to our customers that classified, since we talked about ABC classification, A classified items, it should be counted on a regular basis, because it is very high value items. The high value items should be counted on a regular basis. And so what happens is that we have technology which helps you optimize the warehouse or lay out the warehouse in such a way that you have high value stock items in a particular area of the warehouse, that you can consider closing only that part of the warehouse to do the counting of A value items on a regular basis, so that you don't shut down the whole warehouse. At the same time, probably for the B and C, you would have a different cycle. But at the end of the day, I would say it should be based on your requirements and also the inventory value, because at the end of the day, inventory valuation impacts your income statement. It impacts all the other things. So Oracle and every other ERP solution does provide different technology options. But the new things which we see is, you all know about Rfid, which is quite relevant in the industry. Other than that, we see autonomous robots which do the counting by themselves. You don't need people going and counting it. Also real time, if you can use some sensors by which you can do real time counting. It is not applicable for small and medium. I understand it's mostly for big organizations, but these are the different technologies available.
Yeah, Marcia, regarding the stock taking itself, what would be the best gap, or maybe you can say the plus minus ratio for a typical stock taking for an organization? Maybe plus 10% difference or a minus 10% difference. As Sajna mentioned, this is a great impact on the financials, the annual stock takings. So because you are a procurement consultant and you have seen many procurement organizations are having some procurement diversification, different and geographical locations. So what is, as per your experience, plus 10 or minus 10?
Yes, that is like Jana was mentioning, and I mentioned that about cycle counts, that the system will let you know. It's helpful because it tells you which one to perform based on A, B, C, and D items. So based on that, the accuracy can be different. In general, what we were looking for in many companies, large businesses, we expect to have inventory accuracy over 95%. Like, for example, A items, we really wanted to have it higher. So around those numbers is what we need to have. Of course, if it is lower than 90 or in the 80s, it's very bad. Yeah. It's very bad. And I have seen those situations, and the reasons are multiple reasons. But yes, we need to have, depending on the A, B, C, and D, in particular the A items, of course, that represent like 10% in total, but that accuracy it should be fine. And we started like at 95, and then we wanted to improve, but that is like what we can consider to start from.
Correct. So when we talk about inventory, we cannot avoid reorder levels. If you're familiar with setting levels, reorders, critical level, normal levels. My question to Liz is, how is it in Nairobi? Like, is it like there is any set principles for maintaining different stock levels, like reorder levels?
Yes, definitely. And this, as I mentioned, I don't know why. It's because we have so many diverse organizations here in Kenya, and most of them are now SMEs, and they're cropping up really fast. So in terms of reordering, it depends with your fast moving items. And a lot of people will let you know that when it comes to supply stocking, you always have to stock fast moving items. And if depending on the kind of business you're running, if it's perishable or if it's super expensive things. And I like what Marcia said. I mean, the A items, when you're counting, they need to be at least, I would say 95. I know Marcia is saying 90%. I would say 95% of it needs to be accurate. That if you have 10 items of those, because they're expensive and at the end of it, they're assets to the organization, they have to be 95% accurate. I mean, I would go for 100%, but we're not perfect. I mean, we're all humans.
No.
But depending on ordering and how you're going to always be ordering your stock, always go for the fast moving items.
Right.
And then stock less expensive items at the shop. This is just in case you don't have insurance, depending on the size of business you have, then it matters at the end of it. So stock fast moving, stock less. They're not dead stock. They're like super expensive. Like I'll take you back to the case study of the automobile spares. If it's an old car and you only have around 5 people driving it, stock less of that and stock more of Toyota. So it depends with what you're working with, definitely.
Fantastic. Any closing comments about reordering levels, Sajna? Because I think in an ERP system, it's very critical.
Yes, that's what I was thinking when Liz and Marcia was talking, because that brings us to a very diverse topic of planning, right? The whole plan. How do you plan? How do you do demand planning and supply planning? It's so deep. So yes, it is pretty. It's a very diverse topic, and it's a very important topic, because planning is something which we have to get right. If not, we are not going to satisfy our customers on time, and the order level planning is critical. So from a technology point of view, we do have technology which helps you with the planning by collecting information from your demand channels and your supply channels and integrating together and helping you understand your reorder levels and also place orders on a regular basis. So technology is there to assist you in that aspect. That's my comment on that point.
Great. Before proceeding, let me take 2-3 questions from our audience who are watching us live from YouTube. One of the question is, if the cycle count touches product once a month, then when do you think stock take period should be decided? Marcia?
If the stock is once a month, like we get that stock only once a month.
Exactly, once a month.
Yes, and what was the question? How many?
If the cycle count touches the product once a month, then when do you think stock take period should be decided?
Well, if it is once a month, it can be monthly, right?
Monthly.
We can, yes, because if it is once a month, yes, I would do it in that way. This is relative, because again, if we are getting the right result, it's not that then I'm not going to control anything else, but then we can extend the time. But initially, until we know if we have it right, I would do more frequent periods. And then, but in that case, once a month, do it once a month initially, and then see if we can extend. I would like to add one point. That's why I kept that in my head, and I wasn't fully focused on the question because about the stock levels and about the planning and what Sashna was saying. The system helps us with that, but we need to get the parameters right. Because when we are going to use the system, let's say, okay, we use lot for lot or min-max to say one possibility. If we don't put that right, the system, when recommends the purchase orders and work orders, is not going to be right.
Correct. So my next point of discussion would be about how often should we get the feedback from the end user. Now, inventory, stores, warehouse, they are a separate department. And the end user would be on the field and he would be requesting some items on his part. So how important it is to get the feedback of the end user. We have a requisition system through ERP. We make a requisition system or a requisition procedure is there. Is it very important to get the feedback of the end user and what the end user likes, or what type of materials should the end user have? Is it very important for the stores or the inventory side? Sajna, can you start?
Yes, so let me just try and understand the question right again. So by feedback, you mean like what is the kind of products they need? Is that what you meant?
Yeah, the constant feedbacks or the constant discussion between the end user. End user might be a technical person or maybe in an operation side, and stores guy won't be a technical or an operation guy. He would be a processing guy or maybe system-based person. So how often it should be there, a coordination or a feedback, or what is it necessary to have a constant feedback?
Yes, actually, I would say when you say supply chain, when you define supply chain is managing the chain of supplies, right?
Exactly.
There is a very important term called chain in between. It's a whole chain of different entities that comes into play, and when all of these comes together is when you have an optimal supply chain. So if you ask me whether you have to get constant feedback from an end user, I would say yes. But whether it should be always a verbal feedback, I would say no. It should be, that is where the technology again comes to help you in that creating the collaborative platform where everybody is doing their own tasks on the platform. Okay, they are not doing it on different platforms, or they are doing it on a seamless platform where the transactions flow into one single platform. And what happens is that it seamlessly interacts. So for example, if somebody is raising a purchase requisition sitting in the IT department, automatically the requisition should reach my purchasing department. As an IT person, I don't have to call my purchasing person and tell, okay, I've raised the PO, can you please process it? No, it should be on his dashboard automatically so that he start acting on it. Similarly, once a PO is completed and it's sent for supplier, this PO information should be visible on the inventory person's dashboard to see that PO should be expected. This PO is expected to be received in the next 1 week. Should be, and you should receive it. If once the item comes in, the inventory manager knows that, okay, this is the PO number, and he is able to mix it, match it, and then receive it. So if you ask me, the feedback is something which should be in real time. Whether it should be verbal, I would say no. That's where again technology comes into play. I'm sorry, I'm bringing platform very frequently into the conversation, but that is a fact.
Correct. Yeah, Sajna, thank you for your input. Thank you so much. Before going ahead to some of the final questions on inventory management, Marcia, would you like to discuss on some case studies on your personal experience if you have gone through setting SOPs back there in US? How's the situation there in US?
Yes, sure. I think as I was mentioning, and we have been talking about this, all processes need to be clearly defined. Right? That is very important, and training. And I'm going to mention some practical examples, some experiences that I have gone through that are very related to what Sajna described, right? I like it when she mentioned, I love that point. You go in the system and you see it, you don't have to call. Well, what happens is that in many cases, there are teams that they have their own spreadsheets. So we live in that world. We have the system and we have also the spreadsheet.
Yes.
Jason, I'm here. Okay.
Okay. Liz, would you like to have some comments on this?
Maybe just to take you back on what Sajna has said in regards to communication, getting feedback. It's very important, especially being a PR person, we thrive on feedback. But what the problem is that a lot of people and a lot of companies think just the feedback from the end user is important. You also need to get internal feedback. It could be there's something going on wrong that they know that the customer will not come back and tell you, but your internal already know this is not working and this needs to be changed. So also internal feedback, just having that open communication with your internal staff. As we mentioned, people is like the top of the triangle. So having that internal discussion and open, clear chains of discussion, and just having also I know there's this sustainable term that keeps on being thrown around with SDG and all that, but just having a sustainable form of communication with the end user and just everybody in the supply chain, because they're all stakeholders at the end of the day and they all matter. So that definitely is key. So I wanted to just add that remark.
Perfect. As Marcia said that, or Sajna said about supply chain being a whole chain of connection between I can term it as raw materials or manufacturing till the after sales or the finance or the payment. How is that? What is the transparency level? I mean, is it? Let me simplify it. Like, how transparent should be the whole system? Through a system-based approach or a manual-based approach, whatever the situation the organization is facing, how transparent it should be, like from the CEO level, from the organization board level. Should there be a constant check on the SOPs, on the designed SOPs for each level of operations, or we should completely rely on system-based? Sajna?
I wouldn't say technology actually replaces people. That's exactly why the 3Ps includes people, and people comes before the platform as well. So even if you have implemented the procedures on the system, it is very important for you to go and revalidate those procedures. If you're seeing generally when it comes to C-levels, there is an impact on your income statement or balance sheet is when they start looking down and see what is going wrong, right? So it is a great opportunity for you as C-level executives to do a regular review, probably on a yearly basis or whenever you feel it's comfortable, to do a regular review on your procedures and process and see how you can improve it. And as Marcia mentioned during the start of the conversation, industry is changing frequently. Like your business model is changing, your revenue model is changing. You will be B2B today, you might be B2C tomorrow. You cannot expect the same process and procedures to work tomorrow. So it is very important that you are not very important earlier, but very important now that you are on top of your procedures so that you are able to identify what are the tweaks you have to make based on the industry changes. And again, there people and platform, people and technology have to play a key role in it.
Perfect. Before closing the session, 2-3 questions. A quick question from our audience. Ms. Simran Soni, although it's not a part of our subject for conversation today, but she says that she asked basically how important is it to get trained with international SCM certifications for freshers or expert or experienced professionals in terms of using the 360-degree SCM tools and processes. Marcia, as a procurement consultant, would you like to share some experiences on this?
Yes, I think like every certification helps you because the level is known. So when you don't have a certification and you don't have like much experience, like someone that can tell you, okay, you did great with this, I think it's important to get the certification because that means that you have the knowledge and they understand the level. So I think it's helpful.
Perfect. Sajna, any comments from your side?
Yeah, I would say a certification wouldn't be a replacement for your experience, but if as a supply chain professional, it's not possible to get experience in every different area because it's so extensive. So certifications will definitely help you to improve your understanding in different areas. And supply chain is a very complex concept, right? So certifications helps you do that. And when I did my CSCP certification, I would say that certification actually changed my concept about supply chain itself, because I have never worked in a supply chain organization as such. So CSCP certification gave me a view into it, and it was a great experience. So I would definitely say, from a knowledge point of view, please go ahead and do it.
Lizzie?
Definitely. Certification, accreditation equals to credibility. I mean, they want to work with somebody who knows what they're doing. So at the end of it, the way Sajna mentioned, it will not replace your experience, because experience is very critical. But here back in Africa, and especially in Kenya, they ask you for documents plus experience. So this is something that you cannot, you cannot go one side without the other. So definitely get the experience, get the accreditation. And the good thing is you can actually get the certificates while working. So both of them, from my point of view, are super, super important.
Thank you so much, Lizzie. Thank you so much, ladies, Marcia, Sajna, and Lizzie. Thank you so much for being on the show. We have a lot to talk. We have procurement coming up. We have finance coming up. We have sales coming up, because these all are going to make an impact on the supply chain. We have logistics coming up. We have after sales to talk. We have customers, suppliers, supplier relationship, registrations of suppliers. So this can be discussed in the coming days. We will be having different summits on this. Thank you so much for being on the panel for today. Before closing the show, closing comments from all the three speakers. Marcia, I would like to start with you, please.
No, of course. Well, thank you so much for the opportunity. Participating in this panel has been great with Sajna and Lizzie. And of course, you, Jason. My final thought is that when we are going through, or we are planning to go through a transformation like a supply chain, as we have been seeing, we need to get ready. And ready means like to have the right processes in place, start with that. And of course, we cannot emphasize more the need for training and to keep all the team members, or stakeholders, as sometimes we call them, engaged. Because as we were saying, supply chain actually comes from the customer. And that is what we need to look for when we are doing this transformation that are enterprise-wide, to get a customer-centric supply chain. So we come from the customer, and as we were saying, and then it will go through the different areas, procurement, operation, logistics, everything to meet what the customer needs. Exactly. So we need to have that vision in mind.
Lizzie, the closing comments from your side.
Mine will be two things, and I always go back to sustainability and flexibility when it comes to any SOP. So whatever kind of system that you're trying to incorporate, or you've already incorporated, let it be sustainable and flexible, especially now during the pandemic, and we're going through vaccination. I know this is one of the issues that the health space is trying to tackle. But as long as your system is sustainable and flexible enough to adapt to pandemics and times, then you're okay. So that will be my parting shot.
Yeah, intentionally, I did not touch the COVID subject because I don't wanted to avoid it, all the negativity. Sajna, closing comments from your side. Thank you, Lizzie.
Thank you so much, Jason. It was a pleasure sharing this session with Marcia, Liz, and the amazing audience out there. So thank you so much for being here today. And from my side, it would be the 3 Ps: process, people, and platform. Irrespective, all of this should be balanced. If it's out of balance, if one of them is not working fine, supply chain. And again, as Liz mentioned, the sustainable supply chain and the customer-centric supply chain is extremely important. And if you're looking for digital transformation, be ready to adapt that change. I think this particular scenario with all these crises have actually made us more adaptable to change. So I'm seeing more digital transformations that's happening, and I look forward to see more supply chain transformations. And because technology is there to help in all your supply chain issues, so go ahead, embrace it. That's my
Embrace it. Yes.
Embrace it. Yes.
Thank you so much, all the three ladies, for being on the show. God bless you all. We will be soon up with a lot of new subjects. Till then, thank you so much for the audience also for listening to us, for seeing us from different parts of the world. Thank you so much. There are lots of questions coming up, but due to the time limitations, we are not taking them. I'll be doing a separate session, and I'll be forwarding the questions to our speakers so that they can connect you with you on one-on-one basis on LinkedIn and answer your questions as well. Thank you so much for being on the show, Sajna, Marcia, and Lizzie. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, ladies.
Thank you so much. Bye.